In 2020, I set the fastest known time for mountain bike in the West Highland Way, a point-to-point trail in Scotland from Glasgow to Fort William. It was arguably the biggest challenge I've ever set myself, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. My goal when we made the West Highland Way film was to inspire people to see so many messages, photographs and videos of people getting after it was amazing. When I was training for the West Highland Way, it was the first time in 6 or 7 years that I was able to train consistently. I actually reached a level that I think I'd never been at before. I was fitter than ever. What's next? What's going to give me that same hunger and drive? Old enough to know better. I guess it's a bit of a joke. I'm 36. Should I really still be playing on my bike? Should I not have grown up by now? Yeah, I am old enough to know better. I've never been this fit and I've never been this well trained. I want to prove it. How do I measure up in a real bike race? Yeah, the target for the year is the National Cross Country Championships in Plymouth. It'd be good to line up and see how I measure up against the best riders in Britain. The sport of cycling has given me so much. I want to explore all the different types of cycling I've done over the years. I want to see if I can still hit the big gap jumps and race against the best in Britain. Am I too old for this? Let's find out. You reckon I had enough pace there?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
And the old sends.
Not a big send guy these days, like. Good at making excuses. When it comes to making excuses, I am one of the best. So scary. I bet that's why it's so good, right? Just love it.
How would you describe Rab Wardell?
How many words?
It would just be his laugh. It'd just be that.
Right.
Oh!
That was hilarious.
He's pedaling everywhere. I need to pedal more. Braefoot, eh?
What's the significance of this place for you?
Local spot, innit? It was the closest place you could properly come to ride. Ride along the Fife Coastal Path here, racing each other, get to here, and it's just like a really nice small woods. And then I used to use it for interval training, so I would, from the pier to the top of the hill, ride back down the technical trail. Got Brandon Gonzalez here. Brandon does a bit of digging here, and he is a sleeper. Pretty below the radar, like just rides for the love of it and absolutely hauls ass. Brandon, let's see it! You can tell that Brandon's been riding here a lot as he's absolutely flying. I love riding with people that push me on. I love the sport of cycling, I love mountain biking, and I love the history of it. I love immersing myself and trying to learn about it. About 40 seconds. Introducing the Garvic Stunt Champions, freestylers. Woo-wee!
And that's me zooming down the garden to take that film.
That's the moment that Jack Wardell invented the dad cam.
The dad cam,
He
yeah.
invented the dad cam. It was like when we started, it just became this huge family activity. First ever mountain bike ride, so that's on holiday, rental bikes. And yeah, my brother was almost straight away was competitive, and I kind of followed him into it. It just like became like an addiction, I guess.
To find out how many hours I've been standing in forests with bottles.
That's me there, Alistair Miller. That's Sandy. So he's the bike shop owner, he's the man. That's the club that my brother joined. He was the manager of the bike shop. Yeah, the club was amazing, and then he sponsored me once we started to do more racing. But that's the jersey. Flippin' iconic, recognisable. When I was a kid, if I couldn't get to like the local woods or Pitmeaden or driven somewhere to ride, every day after school at the end, ride a lap round the houses and just basically try and ride down all the sets of steps everywhere. Just that was all I'd be doing, like just do, dragging brakes down and then like dreaming about being able to do like stair gaps. I love the feeling of progression. I love learning new things. That's what excites me about riding a bike. Man, what a sport. What a sport. It's funny that you just ride what you've got, right?
Yeah.
But the more stuff you've got, the better, you know. Now we're talking.
There you go.
Now we're talking. When I finished school, my big goal was to try and make it as a pro. You know, I had that mentality where it was like, I'll do what it takes. So you qualified and went to Australia for 3 months. I had a pretty average pretty bad Commonwealth Games. I had a puncture in the mountain bike race. That's my rim from my puncture at Commonwealth Games in Melbourne.
Problem with Rab Wardell of Scotland. He's having to walk his bike at the moment. He's got a flat back tyre.
Now he has picked it up. He's got a look of disgust on his face as well.
Well, with Rab Wardell of Scotland, he's not having a great race here at the Commonwealth Games.
The rest of the year was just a bit of a disaster. By the end of the year, I realised that it was totally unsustainable to try and race and compete, and to be honest, felt pretty low. The blessing that came with that was I secured a job as a development coach for Scottish cycling in Glasgow. I was earning a living, I had a salary, I had a vehicle, I had all the stuff that I'd ever wanted, but I had that to be a coach rather than to be an athlete. But at the time I found it quite difficult to swallow. The second comeback was for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. I made a real knee-jerk response to quit my job and go for it, and figuring like if I can't turn pro off the back of this, then I'll never do it. Was making great progress and full of energy and enthusiasm, and then began to just hit the same kind of struggles. It just wasn't sustainable. That all came to a head when I was competing at the Cape Epic in South Africa. Everything just got on top of me, and by the final day I collapsed, totally exhausted, and went straight to intensive care for 6 days with rhabdomyolysis. Just a combination of heat stroke, exhaustion, overtraining and getting ill, and then trying to come back and train harder. Back to the drawing board, back to figure out what else I'm going to do.
It's very difficult as an athlete or as a driven, focused person to not convince yourself that you're maybe just being a little bit weak. It gets to a point where you don't really realise it's happened and you're flat on your back, you're absolutely knackered, and then you go, oh yeah, wait a minute. It's been months of horrific efforts, like no wonder I'm ill.
It is the little day-to-day things that you do well, and you don't have to be a hero and do this like massive volume week every few months to become a better rider. And it is just like continuing to just do little things right throughout the years.
Be really, really, really careful if you're coached and asked to repetitively do something you don't like doing. It's got to be fun.
I mean, these days the thing that's really helping me recognise when I'm pushing too hard, when I'm overtraining, is the tech that I've got at my disposal. Being able to track all my training, being able to track my power output, being able to track my heart rate is a great way to notice it. If you're out for a ride and your heart rate's too high and your power is low, no point pushing through that, but just training a lot smarter. People generally only have a negative thing to say about a bike when they've not tried it. It's like e-bikes, they're like, oh, I hate e-bikes. And they try one, they're like, oh my god, e-bikes are so good. When I was younger as a mountain biker, I was anti-road, but my identity was as a mountain biker. I felt really strongly about that until I swung a leg over a road bike and realised how awesome they are. We are at the legendary Crow Road, the bottom of the climb of one of Scotland's greatest ever cyclists, then Robert Miller, now Philippa York. We're in the polka dot jersey in the Tour de France. I believe the only Scottish rider ever to have won that jersey. pushing yourself hard in training is kind of like the easy bit. It's the making sure that everything else is in order. Take care of your mental health and your physical health. Make sure that you sleep, make sure that you eat well. Being burnt out is one of the reasons I would feel anxious and I would feel depressed, because I was exhausted.
It's important not to do what's technically better for your sport. Do it because it makes your brain better. It puts you in a happier place. Everybody performs the best when they're relaxed and extremely happy. Happiness is at the heart of everything.
You have to enjoy what you're doing. If it seems like a chore, then what are you doing it for?
I'm 36. Should I really still be playing on my bike? I am old enough to know better. I've never been this fit and I've never been this well trained. I want to go and prove it. How do I measure up in a real bike race against real athletes? Yeah, the target for the year is the National Cross Country Championships in Plymouth. It'd be good to line up and see how I measure up against the best riders in Britain. My numbers are looking good, but how does it transfer to the trails? I'm going to head back to my old testing ground. I'm going to ride a lap with the Glentress Black Crew. I set a record around this trail 7 years ago. Can I beat it?
Jesus Christ, Rab.
Spaghetti.